Going once, going twice, sold. You're listening to the Property Pod.
Today is how do you pick a real estate agent?
Yes, so
That can be a couple of different things. Agents are now probably better educated as well as to what properties are going to sell for.
talking about it over coffee when we used to just catch up for coffee and not record it. You talk about it in a way that's accessible and easy to listen.
If you've been in your career for a short while, how do you take yourself to the next level?
Yeah.
It was
Start
really
a podcast.
Yeah,
Clearly.
exactly right. Yeah, epic
This
voice.
week on the Property Pod. Welcome back to another week of the Property Pod. I'm your host, Aaron Horn, and I'm joined at the desk with the regular crew, Patrick Berry and John McGregor.
The regular crew and the best crew.
Yeah, the best crew, the best Property Pod crew going round.
Compliment received.
Yeah, you were selling John's skill short. He's just like, I'm better than the regular crew.
Come on now. You're looking sharp today, mate. About to be a hitman or something like that.
It said it because with the dark trousers, then if you put on the black shirt, it just sets it off like a hitman.
Yeah, you look like John Wick or something like that.
Oh, I was thinking that
yes.
Transporter movie.
Oh, that's true with Jason Statham.
Yeah.
Nice. The first one of that was great.
Yeah, shave your head, J-Mac, and you've got stunt double.
Immediately I'll start doing backflips. I think. Screw all that years of hard training. Shave my head. Martial artist master.
That's all it takes.
Yeah,
That's all it takes.
That's the secret.
What's been happening in the world of real estate since we've come back from 2020? We started the new decade. Is things going well across the Hobart marketplace?
Well, I think our offer seems to be the same as you, where now everyone's kicking into gear selling. So that the activity, the second half through January, then everyone's ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, we've noticed that big this week. I think, Aaron, you're working on, 17 property photos at the moment? Like 17 or 18 listings? Ridiculous.
I've got so many that I'm trying to do, and I'm at DEFCON baby at the moment. The baby's ready to pop out.
Yep.
And I'm like, I've got to get on top of everything. Like leaving work each day, I'm just like, will I be back? Will I get this done?
Labour goes for hours. Just take the computer in, sit there, and you got this, Sarah, and just keep ticking through the photos.
I'd say I'd be a very brave man to do that.
Well, it'd make a great story for the property file.
Good thing is she's not up to this episode yet, but she's saying she's going to catch up. So you might be in the bad books.
Oh, good.
Every man likes to hear a story about how his friend got in trouble.
So, yeah, things are definitely ramping up. I know I've been flat chat with bookings of properties, and I guess it's been pretty advantageous. The weather's been perfect for the last little period, so getting out there and getting those photos, they're all coming up really, really good. Makes your job a bit easier to move these properties along.
Yeah, it definitely does make it very easy when the photos look mint.
Yeah, no, I'm happy with the way they're coming up. It's kind of one of those things you're building on your skill set and repertoire, and then just handballing it to you guys to make that sale.
Yeah, so we've obviously so much activity starting this month, or like now things are kicking into gear. It actually made me think of an idea of what we could talk about today.
Yeah,
So,
when you sent this one down the pipe, I quite liked it. I thought it was a good idea.
So I was thinking, like, obviously there's a lot of people that have already made the decision to go to market, but there may be a heap of people out there that are sort of half toying with the idea. So I thought, why don't we step it back and just have a look exactly what is an appraisal and what's involved in one?
Yeah, I think you put down in the notes, you said debunking the myths of a property appraisal. I was like, well, that's cool. It's like a myth-busting episode.
I like that.
Look, I think you may have just came up with that in your head because that sounds way too intelligent for me, but sure, I'll take the credit on that.
I was just giving you a layup there, mate. I thought that
And I'll just
slap it back down.
There goes your compliment. I remember it was actually my grandmother who taught me how to accept a compliment, and she said 2 words, thank you. Because I remember once she just said something. I was like, oh, no. She said, John, how you accept a compliment? You say thank you, but not pat. Slam in your face.
I'm not that good.
As a family-run business, First National Real Estate McGregor understands that the property market can be stressful. However, with a strong team in both sales and rentals, we are here to guide you through the property maze. Find out more today at McGregorFM.com.
All right, so say you've got a property, you are interested in getting it sold. You're going to talk to 1 agent, 2 agents, 3 agents, plenty of agents. But what really is an appraisal? Hit us with all the details that you guys have on appraisals.
Well, I mean, one of the interesting things about an appraisal, I suppose, it is a good means to say breaking the myth, because the idea of an appraisal, a lot of people probably actually don't know what the questions are to ask. Like, why am I really getting it? What is actually, what is involved. That's why we're having it. But fundamentally, it's to give you a agent's opinion on the potential selling price.
That's important, agent's opinion. So we're not licensed valuers, so we can't give you a valuation of the property. So a valuation is something that the bank will take as credibility, or a solicitor will use for, proceedings in some sort of matter.
So ultimately it is what the agent that comes through and does the appraisal, what they believe they will be able to sell the property for.
Yeah, it's our opinion of what we think the market will potentially pay for the property.
I mean, I was watching, at the moment, I was watching that American Pickers, where they're going around into people's back garages, etc., just buying stuff.
Yeah.
But then they're doing it sort of in their own mind, thinking, oh, look, what could I sell this item at retail value for? And again, it's no fixed price. There's no means of that's going to be the end point, because they're not valuing that, but they'll purchase this thing and then they'll go see an auctioneer or an expert with that specific mindset. It might be a painting or a car or a bike, and then they'll say, well, look, the current market for this particular model in this particular condition is going from anywhere from 10 to 30,000 on the auction moment. So an agent's sense is exactly the same framework, in that depending upon your properties, I'll give a framework. So, 5 things that'll have an effect on your price, which is position, your promotion, so how do you market it, the presentation of the home, so is it dirty or whatever, the process, do you auction it or do you do it by private treaty, and lastly, of course, is the person who does it, or in your case,
the Patrick.
That's it.
Call me.
So that was all.
They're all P's.
They're all P's. Is this something that you guys get trained on when you're doing your real estate license, or is this
no?
How do you guys know the 5 P's?
That was something I picked up years ago. I think it was training, and then some bits I've just adapted based on my own way of working.
It's just Pat knew them as you were going through them. I could tell Pat knew what you were saying. So I didn't know.
Pat and John, when we go to conferences, we take notes.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't. They just sit there with blank faces, if looking at all at the presenter, if not looking out the window, just in daydream mode, where if you look at mine and John's notes, we have pages of them. I can't read mine because my handwriting's
not mine.
But we feel really good.
All right. So say you guys do have your 5 P's. You've got them all sorted. That's something that you will have already before you enter the property. Oh, I guess you can't. You'll work out the presentation and stuff when you get there.
Yeah. So I guess for me, obviously it follows similar principles to John. We tend to do a lot. So say, let's role play a bit here. Aaron, you ring up. You say, I want to sell your house. I have a bit of a script that I work through to try to get as much info as possible from you to begin with. So how many bedrooms, bathrooms, do you have a rough idea of size?
Do you want me to do my Dave Hughes voice? We can do an actual real role.
I'd love to sell you Hughes' house.
Well, he bought that one on the block, so I know. A bit.
And then from there, I'll use that information to do a bit of pre-research before I head out to the property. So my goal is when I do an appraisal, is to present and give you a full, clear understanding by the time I leave, where some agents will do a 2-stage approach appraisal where they'll come out and meet you, have a look around, have a chat, then they'll go away and do research and come back to you. For me, it's more, I know people are time poor these days and they just want the information and they want to have an idea after that appointment. They don't want to meet you again in 2 days' time to try and make a decision on where they're at with everything. So
with the access to data these days, it seems like I know I see all the agents around here doing heaps of stuff before they go to the appraisal, so they kind of have a little package that they'll put together. Yeah,
so we try to, here at 414, we try to research as much as we can, and 9 times out of 10, I probably know within sort of 85 to 90% what I'm going to tell you it's worth before I've even walked in the front door.
Yeah,
so I may have done a drive-by past the outside of the home quickly, just have a look at the area, look at the condition from the street, and then I'll use online data, and most of the time I can tick off a lot of my opinion, from price, apart from that unknown factor, which is presentation, which I don't know really until I get inside and see
how it's been kept.
I can see that maybe when you bought it 3 or 4 years ago, it looked like that, but I get inside and oh, shoot, you've done a whole brand new kitchen that I wasn't aware of because even though I try to get all that information out of you to begin with when I'm having a chat on the phone, we ask, what have you done since you bought the property, for example? Sometimes things don't get relayed through. But yeah, with data these days, it's pretty easy to get a good understanding of what the home's going to be worth before
And there's obviously like these things that are on Domain and realestate.com now where it's kind of got a pricing guide literally built into the websites for certain suburbs.
And that's what I really like these days. Like people get us out, but 9 times out of 10, they already have a pretty educated guess as to what they think their home is worth. They're just wanting us to reassure them that they are in the correct sort of range.
And that's a real good means to segue into why, a real estate agent's appraisal is useful, because it's a decision marker. So we're thinking, okay, within this range, am I going to be able to now move on to my next step?
Yep.
Because usually there's always something that triggers it. And I always think that, the house effectively is a commodity and it's our job to just try and help you move that on.
Yep.
So if you're selling a stock, you can just click a button with a broker and it's moved, If you've got gold's the same or anything. But in
Or like Bitcoin.
there you go.
Unless you lose your password. Have you heard or read those articles about the people that lose the password to their Bitcoin?
Yeah, it's terrible.
Like,
And
have you read about this? How long the passwords are? It's like 45 characters.
It's supposed to be deeply encrypted. That's the point.
Yeah.
Randomly generated.
And then you lose the password. It's just worth nothing.
You can't access it. And no one can hack it. It's impossible. It's just gone. There you go.
Bye-bye.
Yeah. So that's why investing in housing is a good, safe means.
Because if you lose the key...
If you lose the key, you can get a locksmith. Bitcoin, no chance. So we're then, we're just there to assist in that process. And like you just said, sometimes that reassurance of the number is because they'll have a number in their mind that's enabling you to be able to then move on to your next step. And where then, I guess, the challenge of a real estate appraisal is that, again, ours is a sales appraisal that if you were to put on the market today, what is the market bearing? Is it between a range? Is it looking for an exact price? And that's where the framework of, it's subjective in the means of what are you prepared to do during the sale process to maximise your price. And probably another one that's going to factor into an adjusted range is your time frame too. And I heard this from, I think it was a local guy, but he said there's a price, there's a time, there's a price. And so that's a really good
Mac
one.
Attack number 1 for 2020.
There you go.
Totally agree.
But why that's really useful is to say, but I need $550 for this house, otherwise we can't do what I want to do. It's like, well, look, with all the research and things that we can do, it looks like that price in this current market is unrealistic. And the reality is you're probably going to have to wait another 12 to 24 months for the capital to catch up to be where you need it to be.
Yep.
So that's where, a real estate agent can come in handy to help effectively just give you guidance as to knowing whether or not you're going to be able to do what you need to do. And that's, I suppose, where I'll put my hand on my heart and say I've got it wrong many, many times where my opinion's, lower than it is than the property's actually sold for. And sometimes I've done it the other way as well. So there's no exact science to it.
It's worth what someone's prepared to pay and the owner's prepared to accept, and that can change daily.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's its true value. There isn't like a shelf price like a carton of milk. It's worth what anyone's prepared to put out for it.
Yeah, exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
Well, and that's why this is, for me, I'll often say to my clients, look, I can't sell your property. I can only provide you an opportunity. You're the one who has to pull the trigger. Because we can have 10 contracts with more than you've ever wanted, and then you say no, don't worry about it. And that's where I suppose people can, if you are getting I suppose leading into, how many real estate agents do you seek to be able to get opinions from? It's okay to not feel pressure about having to sign up, even if you might come across someone who's quite, aggressive in their approach, because it's always in your control.
Yeah, I think
always in your control.
I think we've had a conversation about this before, about not being pressured into a decision. Like, I guess when it comes to a contract, you've got to sell this, you've got to do this, you've got to sign this right now. You got to think about the all the skin that's in the game. It's like, it's your property, it's not the agent's property. But that being said, how many agents should you get in to, I guess, find that perfect balance, which is something we've discussed as well, of being like, you've got to be able to honestly interact with the, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think
Fix up what I'm saying.
I think you need to get in as many as it takes until you find the person that you feel comfortable with.
Oh, that's a really good way
That's
to
where
look
I
at
was
it.
trying to get at.
I don't think there is a right number. Like, they talk about getting 3 in. Like, that's not correct.
And
if it takes you 8 before you find the person that you're like, this person understands me, this is the person that I know is going to do the best for me.
Yeah.
Price and marketing costs, they should be the least problem, but it always seems to be the number one problem that people have is, how much is this going to cost me? That's not the issue. The issue is, who do you think is going to make you the most money? Because then the costs are irrelevant.
Yeah.
So you need to keep going until you find the person that you have that connection with, and that person that you trust is going to do right by you. And it could be the very first person you meet, It might be the 10th person you meet. So that's, I think, where people get confused with this, how many should I get?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, I've heard 3 is what you should get. Have you heard that, John?
I'm pretty sure that's what all the like agent referral websites would always say. Get at least 3 people. But it's an arbitrary number. You know, I think even because it's just 3, because I suppose you might be thinking there's a lower, high, and a medium, and then you're going to somehow come into a...
But that's coming back to that numbers game.
It is.
It's like you get 3 people in, you can choose the average and choose the person that's best out of those 3 from a price perspective. But
Well, and I think why that happens though is because people don't equip themselves with the right questions to ask. So usually it comes down to the 2 decision points where people will say, okay, what's their quoted sale price and how much is their commission? But that's like two possible questions out of probably 15 you should be asking. Because so then
sounds like you're going to put a list together for our listeners, John, and supply it for anyone that wants it.
done.
Boom.
Boom. And that's recorded, so you can't go back on that.
Yeah, okay. All right, that's my homework.
And there needs to be at least 15 because that's what you just said.
Yeah. Oh, dang it. I should have said 3. But again, so that's what happens is we, you know, when we don't have I like using the word framework sometimes because I use the word process a lot, right?
Yep.
Is that if you don't have a good process how are you going to decide who's going to be right for you? So I'll always ask, look, what do you need from us? Like, and then it'll be, I just need a price. You know, it's like, so what's that price going to do for you? And then, you know, what will that mean for you? Where are you going next? And so it's a whole trying to help each other understand each other so that we can get to the crux of what really matters.
Yep.
And so if sometimes it might not be how many agents do you see, but it's what questions are you asking to get the answers that's important to you. And that's more so, I suppose, then if you are looking to do an appraisal, first off is understanding why you need it. And being, for me, I mean, I'm a bit of a open sort of book, so it means, look, just tell me what you need it for.
Yep.
And it might be, hey, we've been in the house for 3 years. I'm thinking about buying a new car. I'm just curious to see if, you know, rather than having to go to the bank and see them, I just want to know what my house is worth because I just want to know.
And that's an awesome point right there because appraisals don't necessarily have to be done for the purpose of selling.
That's
like
right.
we do them for our rental people all the time, our owners,
Yep.
to hopefully make them understand that over the last 5 years they've built capital and all of a sudden they didn't realise that they have, 20% to put towards another property, for instance. So,
But can I just check? Earlier you said that you guys aren't official valuers.
no, we're not. You're correct. So they'd still have to go down the process and get a formal valuation done, but they may not even have that idea on their radar because they haven't understood that the market's increased in value.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden you send them out a report and they're like, oh, geez, my property's gone up that much. And then that gets the wheel ticking and that conversation happening. And so in that case, that appraisal has never been for the purpose of convincing them to sell. It's been to help educate our landlords that potentially, hey, guys, have you thought about expanding your portfolio?
Yep.
Your rent's covering the mortgage on this one. You've built great capital. Here's an opportunity to add another property to the mix.
Yep.
And so that's another thing that you can do like that. Well, that what we do at 414 is that we're always sending out appraisal packs. And I think you do it as well, don't you, John? To
with
your
with the owners.
landlords.
That's it. Yeah.
And my rental team stress about it because they think I'm trying to find listings, but it's not. It's trying to find people that want to buy more sales so I can grow my rent roll so it gets bigger.
That's it.
So, it's just people need to also remember, like John said, it might not be for the purpose of selling. I might want to buy a car and I need to know, will I be able to get a personal loan with my home loan that I have?
Yeah. Yep.
So it's just about getting a informal understanding as to the value of the place.
And in this day and age, information is everything. It's kind of that peace of mind of knowing that it is growing.
Well,
It's got to be helpful.
I suppose you look at what the purpose of money is sometimes, right? And understanding where it is that you're understanding where your options are. So if you've got a firm understanding of what, if something happens, is okay, now my asset, it'd be your house, would you be you're living in it or as an investment property, is if I needed to move it, well then there's X money that's going to be available in 30 days, 60 days if I have to. So it's really about understanding the position to know what your potential options are. And, we've had it many times where all of a sudden in the right market, someone's gone, oh, actually I didn't realise we had this much property available. We'd always thought if we got to here, we might sell up, grab a caravan and just go be nomads for a while. So it's about understanding your options. I know one of them I think we're talking about there is, if there was a couple of things there, do I need an agent to visit my home and am I obligated to sign up?
Yep.
No and no. The reality is that the more information that we have about your property, so the tighter we can narrow that that gap might be. So if you just said, look, I just want to drive past, I'm not going to tell you anything about it, well, then I've got the sale guess has to be massive because there's so many unknown elements about your property and your situation that we can't.
From what I've already learned just now from these P's, the presentation, you can get the idea of the outside facade and position and stuff like that, but you won't know the inside. So that's going to change the parameters of your
So you can imagine this look like someone might be really like, I just need a number. Just give me a number what's going to sell for. And it's like, well, I can't tie myself down in that sense unless I want to give you a really low bold number. It's like, well, I'm definitely going to sell for that.
Yep.
But the more information, obviously, the more the tighter narrow range we could probably estimate. Yep. So especially in markets that aren't, extremely hot where it's still trying to find a new balance. And so let's just say you said, look, I don't want to see anyone. I just want a phone conversation because some people are quite anxious and they feel they're going to be pressured. So they might say, look, I just want an idea. Can you do a drive past? Here's some framework and then give me some information. You know what? Okay. And then to be phrased by, look, just so you know, the range that we've advised here has to be a little wider because we don't have enough information to work with. However, then we didn't need to see us. We just drove past the property and, you're not obligated to sell. And that can actually quite happen a lot with banks and people that are going through bankruptcy and there's potential repossessions down the road.
Okay.
We'll have these calls sometimes where they don't want a bank's valuation appraisal. They want an agent's idea. Because the bank doesn't care about the valuation. Now they're thinking, well, what can we sell this thing for? So then that external company is calling an agent going, hey, we need you to do a drive past this place. Please make sure that you're in an unmarked car and they don't know what's going on. This has happened quite a lot.
Oh, wow.
And so then shoot off a report later.
Yeah.
So that's an example of an appraisal that, it's obviously not a very pleasant one.
That sounds like the transporter that we were talking about before. Just in your little place. Is that what you've got lined up today?
And look, sometimes they'll refuse it depending upon the company. But if it's someone that's reputable and we're familiar with them, then it's okay. We can assist in that. But it's often just a random person. They've never heard of them, don't know who they are, why they're doing it, don't know the client. It's like, I'd rather you speak with someone else. It's not something we don't want to get involved with.
Yeah, well,
so I think another thing then we're asking like why. When should you get one? We've already thought about that. It's just when you want to know.
414 Real Estate has been operating within the northern suburbs of Hobart since 2006 with their innovative approach to marketing and managing your property. They have all your property needs covered. Find out more by visiting them today at 414.com.au.
I'm going to sound like the cheapskate here, but does it cost me anything to get you guys to come out? Like just for this peace of mind to know that what's my place worth? Is it going to cost me money to be like, give me some of your time, real estate agent man?
Only if you want to pay me.
I work for scones, so I'm happy for a cup of tea and
If
a biscuit.
If there's cream and jam,
Look, I love scones and that's great, but seriously, I know I've seen some letterbox drop things that come out and that say, you've a no obligation free appraisal of my property. Is that legit?
I think it's important to understand why we're doing that, and that's because if we don't have one thing about as agents in real estate is that you don't actually have stock to sell. So if you're a salesperson in a car yard, for example, you might have, or any other business, generally speaking, you've got a store in stock that people come and see you.
Yep.
As an agency, we've got to find it. So what for us, the means of being able to, an obligation-free appraisal is there's no charge on the advice because we're only going to get paid once we've got a sale result at the very end of the day. So it works in us that we're building a network of people that we could potentially help, and that might want to use us down the road.
So it's legit. The ultimate debunk I want to know there is what's the catch of this letterbox drop thing that's in my letterbox?
Yeah, no, it's free. And if they sent you a bill, you just tear it up.
Okay.
Yeah, really simple.
Yeah.
I mean, look, some people have offered to pay as well and all that kind of stuff. And then again, I'll just be open with them. It's, look, this is how it serves us. We get a chance to start to build a relationship that hopefully when you're ready and when you need us, we'll be there for you.
Yep.
And that you call us when the time comes.
So then my other question leading off that is I've got this letterbox drop, it's landed, and I found out that you'll come and do it for free. How much time do I need to set aside for you to come and appraise my property? I know Pat said he's kind of got a fair idea before he comes in, but say how much time will it take for you guys to come and
how much
have
are you going to talk?
I'm pretty good at having a yarn.
I guess it's how long is a piece of string then really.
Yeah.
Some people are really chatty and so it's going to take a longer time.
Yep.
Other people just want to get to the point and you don't know that until you meet the person. General rule of thumb, I'd probably spend anywhere from sort of 45 minutes to an hour on average at a property.
Yep.
That's fair.
Sometimes they're a lot quicker than that, though. I think the quickest one I've done has been like 15 minutes.
Yep.
Walked in, looked around. What do you think it's worth? Told him the price. He said, "You're an idiot. Get out of here." And I left. And I was like, "Okay, not getting that one."
See ya.
And then Jasmine, she was with me, and she was like, "Well, that was interesting."
I've been sworn at once or a few times, but I remember years ago, I'd not long started, and we had this block of land I was appraised out at New Norfolk, and I did all the right things. I've been asking the right questions, like, okay, what's your circumstance? How long have you had it for? What did you pay for it? Have you done anything to it? Have you had any other opinions? I'd asked all these questions, and he's like, I've paid this much, I've had it for this long, I haven't done anything, I haven't had any other opinions. So on that basis, we did all the work, did all the research, and came up to it, and was sitting at his kitchen table, and then I gave him the opinion. He went, you're an idiot, you don't know what you talk about? Like, he was just going off his face, and then he found out, I paid this for that, and then I've done all this work to it since I've owned it, and so you didn't take any of that into consideration. I've had other agents' opinions up here that said, so basically every question I asked, he lied directly to my face, and then he got really angry for me because all the information I had was wrong and I got it wrong based on that basis, and he's like, get out of my house. And I went, I'll see ya.
I guess like that's one of those things where it doesn't serve you well to tell porcupines on that front, because ultimately you're just hurting yourself. Like if he had told you the truths along that line, it may have changed what your appraisal had been. Would that be something or?
Oh, absolutely. And admittedly too, I was fresh at the time. So I'd be a bit better equipped to be able to handle those situations. Now I've got a few more scars on my back. It's probably the best way to put it. But it's just, it's a reality for us in that, that's the challenge of being in an industry that has the word sales attached to it. It comes with a lot of sleaze that people can be quite distrustful at the beginning. And I think that's where it's really important that what you said, Pat, is what's the right number? Well, it's about finding the right person more than it is about finding the amount of times it takes. Because it's just like, I've had 3, and it's like, I didn't like any of them. Well, try again, because that'd be the way I'd look at it, rather than just settling, because you'll probably end up, if it had a bitter start, it'll probably have a bitter end.
And look, not every agent's going to suit every person. Like, you got to gel with that person. Everyone has different personalities, so I blend really well with certain people, and then others that we just don't understand each other, and I know straight away that I'm not going to get this job.
And it could be they'll show up and say he wore a polo shirt and had Nike shoes on.
Pretty much.
I'm not interested in selling with that.
Yeah.
Or could be the reverse and be like, oh, he's really casual and comfortable, and I know that he's going to tick all the boxes.
That's right.
Yeah, we all just we have different personalities, and we need to be able to blend with the person we're working with, and some people will just not blend.
And I guess ultimately it's a person business. You're meeting other people, and it's about finding that right person that you think will mix with the people that will be coming through this property.
Yep.
Yeah, and that's the same for us as agent. We know we can't be everyone's
Best
agent.
friend. Yeah.
And it's just look, I've said many times, I'm okay if I'm not your agent.
Yep.
Whereas if the mask in that guy's case, I think he was probably just a bit of an arsehole, to be honest. But let's just be straight about it. He had no respect for me or the profession, and so he was trying to find a way of stumping me up to see. But whatever his purpose, I won't know.
Yeah.
But I would never want to work with that kind of person anyway, because in the end, there's probably going to. And we've had down the road where at the end of the deal, people will try and renegotiate on the commission and terms and try and squeeze us at the end after all that was agreed. And then unfortunately, that's just going to be people that unfortunately not everyone's a good egg. So that's why it's worth getting a few opinions till you can find someone that you like or you trust and that you can feel is going to do a good job for you.
Just to finish up, I know we've got a fair bit of stuff there, and we've debunked the myths that Pat was leaning into hard this early on.
Definitely.
Just like what's the right time to get one done? Like at what point should you call up you guys to get an appraisal done? Like a week out, or like a day before you want it sold, or a week out?
Well, I think you can call me a day before, but I'd probably prefer a little bit more lead time than that.
Yep.
So what people need to understand, even if you decide to list with the first agent and you list with, it is not going to be on the internet the next day. Mm-hmm. So you have to be aware that it could be anywhere from sort of 7 to 10 days for it to be up online. So straight away, you really got to be at it at the latest probably 2 weeks before you want to see it out in the public domain.
Yep.
That's my opinion. But realistically, maybe even sort of, 21 to 30 days before if you're serious about selling, because maybe we might get there and suggest, I know in the last episode we talked about improvements that you can make.
Yep.
And we're not there to tell you to do massive things, but maybe there's a couple of small things that might take you a weekend to do, or, you know, we might get there and suggest that you declutter some furniture and bits and pieces, and that takes time. So
It was like John had one the other day where he said, "Oh, can you go and just get the front facade photo? They're not ready inside. There's going to be a shipping container that'll be moved to out the front. Can you grab that for me now?"
Yep.
And then we'll do it. So obviously, like, you've put in a little timeline of these are when all these things will happen. They're not expecting it to be on that day.
Yep.
I think that's probably what people first need to understand, that if your house is showroom ready and you've got, like, you know, the shift furniture styled home that's perfectly presented, then we could probably turn yours on really fast. But if you're looking around and you're like, I've been here for 15 years and there is a lot of stuff in this place, maybe it's going to take you a little bit of time just to get it perfect for sale. So it never hurts to get one done early.
Yep.
And an agent's not going to be upset if they've got to wait a little bit of time for it to be ready.
Yep.
So maybe just, you know, put the feelers out there when you're sort of half thinking about the idea, and then we can sort of, you know, ramp it up a little bit more once you're a little bit closer to being able to push the go button.
And that's comes back to, I suppose, what's your end goal. So if your goal was to, I need to maximise my profit and get as much money out of this property as possible, is like, okay, you're going to have to put in the time. So we're going to have to revisit those 5 Ps that we talked about. Minus position, then we're looking at ones you control, so that's your promotion, your presentation, etc. But, I mean, we've had it, I know you and I have worked with deals before, Pat. Remember one that I had with, we'd taken over from a private landlord, and it had, what's that, ice. Remember that property? And I just,
Ice, you know, that drug, that party drug, it had that in there.
So well, no, it's a good
story.
It was Walter White.
Yeah, it's Walter White. But no, I give this purposefully because, again, it depends on what your goal is. So if you're going to maximise your profit, you can't expect to turn around in 24 hours. There's a process that's going to have to be followed. But if you call up and said, I need out in 30 days. I need out. So it's like, okay, great. We'll have to adjust our expectations. But if you need a quick result, fair enough. And like I said, what happened with this particular property is our owner, we'd found them later, and they come to us after working with another agency, and we'd inherited this house that unfortunately it was vacant, but it had a bit of a funny smell in our eyes. So we ended up getting a test for it had been used for ice. Methamphetamine, that's it, and which were approved right.
Yep.
And it tested positive. And the owner needed the property gone. It's like, God, if we go to market, the amount of disclosures and all that kind of stuff is going to be immense. And she doesn't have the time to do that, or the resources to be able to put in the effort to be able to fix it, clean it, and all that kind of stuff. So it's a bit of a rock and a hard place for her. So that, right, what do we need? We need an owner that we can tell it up front. They're going to need enough fat in the property to be able to do all the cleanups in order then to be able to move it on. So that's when I gave Pat a buzz, like, mate, here's what we've got. Have you got anyone that you know to work with? And luckily enough, you did.
This sounds like a whole episode all by itself, like a true crime style episode. Like, imagine if we led in with like boom boom, like the Law and Order theme, and then it was like, this house was once used as a meth lab.
Seems like a really negative way to finish this episode too. By the way,
I could have given
bad example. Well, I've got this ice house. Let's finish on this.
We've got plenty of good news stories as well, I suppose. But like, it's not a bad framework because, not a bad example of why am I getting an appraisal and how can an agency help? And that really then comes at, what's your specific situation? Hey, it ain't all roses sometimes, you know.
Actually,
and an agent could be a lifesaver for people, and that's why I suppose working with someone. If
this show needs a lifesaver.
I was just about to say,
I'm doing my best to give it
to sign off. I'd be like, so if you've got a meth house out there and you're looking to sell, call John McGregor.
Oh yeah. But if you've got a good news stories, we're here as well.
Look, it's been fun, boys. I actually think we did get a fair bit out of that, and I love a good anecdote at the end. So, Breaking Bad season.
It surprises me sometimes. It's like, I've had this experience, and it's just coming up to talk about now.
Yeah, that's pretty fair.
Yeah.
Well, look,
15 years will do that.
I'm going to put together a true crime episode, and I'm going to come and interview.
Go into a whole episode of John's house flipping skills.
Cool. All right, guys. Thanks for that.
Catch you later.
Yes.
You have been listening to The Property Pod, produced and edited by 414 Media House in conjunction with 414 Real Estate and McGregor First National Propriety Limited.
This podcast is general information only, and the thoughts and views expressed is the opinion of our panel, and listeners should always seek and use their own investigation into any topic we discuss. to ensure they fully understand their own situation.
It does not constitute and should not be relied on as purchasing, selling, financial or investment advice or recommendations, express or implied, and it should not be used as an invitation to take up any agent or investment services. No investment decision or activity should be undertaken on the basis of this